I'm here to talk about responding rather than reacting. Now, oh my goodness, responding means that you have a filter in place. You've received whatever's coming at you. It's not feeling right, but you step back. You practice pausing, stepping back, and then responding. Reacting is when something's coming at you and boom, it's almost like it's a reaction. It's like a punch, it's just a punch back. That's reaction. There is a book called Emotional Intelligence, and that book talks about how we have an IQ, so we have an intelligence quotient, but we also have an EQ. We have an emotional quotient that measures our emotional intelligence. If you find that you're reacting a lot, you need to practice a higher emotional intelligence. People that have higher emotional intelligences tend to respond and not react. Even a reaction becomes a response over time for people who have, how shall we say, they've mastered their own emotions. When you react, it's damaging to a relationship. It doesn't matter what the relationship is. Think back to when you were in school and you had a teacher who reacted, just reacted, didn't even like really know what was going on, but assumed and reacted. And if you remember somebody getting in trouble, that it really didn't even involve that person, but the teacher reacted and then stood behind whatever her decision was. Well, we do that in relationships because we see it practiced all the time. We've probably, it's a very, very small percentage of the population that hasn't dealt with a lot of reactions growing up. So reaction is like the default. Response means we step back, we kind of pan the scene, like if you can imagine a camera panning the scene, we kind of pan the scene, and we choose a response based on what would be the good for that situation, that relationship. But because it's a response, it's not an emotional pushback against someone else. It's more of it opens the conversation because it's a response, or it de-escalates the situation because it's a response. Often when I'm working with partners, husbands and wives, or even now, not legally married couples, and oftentimes you'll have people who have developed kind of this back and forth. He does this and then she reacts, and because she reacts, he reacts, and then because he reacts, she reacts, and pretty soon they have this big escalation. And honestly, it wasn't necessarily that big of a deal when it started, but it's almost like something like an energy kind of takes over and just escalates the situation. So I bring this up because the first step in learning to respond instead of react is to start to notice when you do start to escalate. You'll notice that response, like where you literally start to, like, the reactions start to take on a life of their own, almost in a negative direction. And what you want to do is just pause and step back. That's the first step. Is just pause and step back and say, I gotta let's continue this right now. I need to relax and think about what I'm gonna say or whatever, but start there. And over time, you'll master that you won't even provide a reaction, and you'll always be in response mode. And as a result, your relationships won't be damaged all over the place. They won't have nicks and bumps and bruises and all kinds of, and of course I'm using that as a metaphor, right? But relationships hurt from words that are said and reactions, escalated reactions, things that are learned behaviors from dysfunctional relationships. And we all carry some of that pretty much pretty much we have some level of that. And our job is, in order to have happy, healthy relationships, you got to master that. You've got to learn how to respond. And if you work with me, you know that I talk about like practicing the pause, that you need to pause. It's really important to pause, because in that moment of the pause is the future. So whatever you choose in that moment, you're creating in the next moment. So if you learn to practice that pause, now your creation can be the one that you really want it to be, not this one that's created by your default reactions, if that makes sense. This is a great conversation to have with someone. Share this video with them. It is an awesome conversation to have, because people, the more they can master this small piece, the easier relationships go. And I did just do, created I'm running the mini version of my signature program, and it teaches the basics, like a lot of really awesome basics. And I'll put the link in the comments. And I think the early bird special runs until maybe the end of January. And then we start up in February, and there's just a small group of women, and we learn a lot. We actually become very good friends, because I'm very high touch, and I really love to help people flourish in their relationships, whatever stage they're at. I think the last time we ran this program, we had people that had been married a long time, people that had been married a short time, people that were going through a breakup, people who were looking for a spouse, you know, that they had just come out of a relationship that they thought it was the ultimate and it wasn't. I mean, all sorts of people take this information and apply it and have really amazing relationships. So I'll drop that link, and you can message me if you have questions once you check it out. But yes, I think the bottom line is practice the pause so you can choose to respond instead of react. And you will diffuse so many bombs that don't have to go off in a relationship.